I'm Ian O'Neill.
I'm Caoilte Barra.
I'm Andy Stevenson, and you're listening to the Auld Triangle.
We're an Irish MMA podcast brought to you by SevereMMA.com.
From amateurs to pros, regional shows to Irish fighters abroad, we're all over Irish MMA.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, hit subscribe, and now let's start the episode.
Welcome back to the Auld Triangle. It's episode 13. I'm Ian O'Neill, and as always, I'm joining you today with a little bit of a heavy heart. Fresh off watching the All-Ireland hurling final, Limerick and Kilkenny. Still wearing the colours, still representing, even though things didn't go our way. In good times and in bad, that's what the way you have to go. As always, I'm joined by Andy Stevenson and Caoilte Barra, and we're going to take you through all the upcoming Irish news and storylines for the past couple of weeks and take a look ahead of a few things that are going to happen today. Lads, what's the crack? How are you keeping? Are you well?
Not too bad now. It's roasting out. I'm liking your new Twitter profile picture.
Stop. It's only going to be
What
up
happened
by
there?
the
What's this now?
I lost the bet with Sean.
Gone onto Twitter here.
I lost the picture. I lost the bet with Sean there, so the loser had to put the winning team lifting the cup up for 24 hours. By the time this is out, though, it'll be all gone, but I guess it'll be on my timeline. But those are the joys of it. Sure, make a bit of crack out of it anyway. That's the main
Will
thing.
you be able to make it through this episode now? Is your heart too heavy?
Lads, it's tough. It's tough going now. I was up early this morning and watching that game at the start of the day has emotionally drained me. But being with you lads now always gives me energized, give me some energy and talking about the fights and stuff. So we'll battle through.
I had a lovely day if it's any consolation.
You're up big on up in the rugby, Andy. You were in your element yesterday. Or yesterday, we were recording this on Sunday, I guess. In Ireland,
greatest moments in Irish sporting history. No, absolutely not.
Chatting shite there.
No,
now.
but I had a 99 today, so that was nice too.
Oh, nice. What do you get on it? A flake, sprinkles, syrup. Do you get the whole works on it?
And then what I do is I push the flake all the way down, so it's like almost in the cone, and then you get to eat the cone and the flake at the end. Oh, it's amazing.
You're a man after my own heart, Andy. I love it. I love that. Now you can make
not enough sprinkles
work
today, but that's okay.
That's all right. Would it be sprinkles or would there be hundreds and thousands to you, Caoilte?
Sprinkles now. Limerick, get a great 99 in Limerick now, and I'll be going for one after this now, just for you, Ian.
Yeah,
get the green syrup as well.
Do they have 99s in Canada? Actually, probably not.
They do. They do in some places, but like you have to actually go to like a proper ice cream place, and then they call it soft scoop over here. It's like soft scoop or hard scoop, and I'm just like, fucking give me a 99 million.
Do you have a flake?
Around with your fancy names. Just throw a bit of ice cream on a cone there and we'll be grand. Right, let's get into it, lads. We're after going completely off track.
This is rebranded to an ice cream podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, any ice cream sponsors out there, give us a shout out. We're going to talk, lads, and we're going to kick off today's show. Cage Conflict is on this Saturday, July 23rd at the Devonish in Belfast. Always a great show put on by Cage Conflict. Ger Harris was scheduled to take on Nuruddin Hezrat in the main event there. Unfortunately, Ger had to pull out due to injury. But he is joining us today to give us an update on that injury and a couple of other things as well. So I look forward to hearing from him a little bit later on in the podcast. But I'm asked, the fight card still goes on, and it's a cracking fight card too as well. As always, Andy, is there any fights that are standing out to you on the card? I know that your new main event is now Scott Harvey versus Alexander Yankov. Obviously, that one is something to look forward to. Anything else that sticks out to you on that card?
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose firstly, I am looking forward to that main event. I saw Scott Harvey fight last time out in Cage Conflict, and I thought he looked very slick. And then similarly, the last show I was at was Ur and Alexander Yankov was winning that fight against in the main event against Marcin Zembella up until he wasn't, basically. So that's an interesting one to me. I'm also interested to see, and I kind of keep beating this drum because he just keeps winning every second week, Dominic Norcus, a young amateur. I'm excited to see him in action again, and I'm also intrigued by, I'm assuming now it's kind of difficult for us because we don't have the full card out, but so we're kind of going by the Cage Conflict page here. If Andrew Barrett versus Andre Strenu is still on, I'm really looking forward to that one. Quite high on Andrew Barrett, and then again it was up at Ord last time. Andre Strenu, he looks an absolute beast of a man. I think he was fighting for someone from Team KF. I think it was maybe Julian Renault or someone like that. He fought last time out and grinded out a win. So that'll be another one to look forward to as well.
Yeah, definitely, all great fights as well. What about yourself, Caoilte? Is anything sticking out for you on the card?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Like Cage Conflict are always putting on these stacked, really good cards, and there's so many good fights to kind of delve into. But I'm intrigued to see Leon Hill return. He's coming back against a lad called Bilal Ben Rice. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but we'll go with it. Obviously, I think Leon Hill took his professional debut on short notice, and now we haven't seen him in a while since. So it'd be nice to see him get back in there and kind of see what he can do, and then hopefully we'll see him back on some Cage Warriors cards, because I know he made his debut there and didn't go his way exactly, but yeah, I'm really interested to see that. And then I think the other one for me, and it's the standout of the card for me, is Keith Keogh versus Karen McConway. What a fight. So Keith Keogh trying to make history by becoming the second person to win 2 belts at 2 different weight classes in Cage Conflict. The last person to do so was Paul Hughes, I think, if I'm getting that correct. But so yeah, Keith Keogh making his first kind of trip down to bantamweight. He told me before that like he is actually closer to bantamweight than you may think, and he's actually quite small for featherweight, which is crazy considering he's gone 10-0 there. And then you have Karen McConway, who, as we all know, fights every bloody weekend. The lad doesn't stop, and it's extremely admirable. I love it. It's a champ versus champ fight, and it's probably the standout for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't say enough about Karen McConway. He's fighting almost all the time now. He probably has been the guy we mentioned more on this podcast than anybody else, so fair play to him. I mean, I'm looking at Cameron Clements moving down to the welterweight to fight Jess Paulo for the welterweight title there, which to me is a great fight as well. Kilkenny are training out with Team Rhino Kilkenny is Paul Nolan going in there against Kieran Coogan as well, a fight that I'm looking forward to. But like you guys said, Cage Conflict always put on great shows, and this one has a couple of pro fights at the top of the bill, a couple of great amateur fights going up, and I'm looking forward to watching it, and I'm looking forward to giving a full breakdown of the card in the next episode that we do.
That one you mentioned there, just Kieran Coogan, he's one to keep an eye on. Like I remember. I got up to the Devonish. I can't remember, was it the last one or the previous one? And I got up there and I was kind of setting up still, and I started to watching the fights because I was kind of more trying to get there for the main card. But I was watching Kieran Coogan fight, and I was kind of like, holy shit, who is this lad? Like, he's just really, really quick, fast paced, ferocious. He's a finisher, and I don't think he's lost in MMA yet. So I think he's one to keep an eye on. He's fighting out of Fight Academy Ireland flyweight. There's a lot of kind of up and coming flyweights in the country, it seems, at the moment. So I'm quite excited to look at him in particular.
Yeah, it should be an exciting fight. That would be him versus Paul Nolan in the Nolan. Sorry, Nolan. I was giving him his Irish name. Paul Nolan in the flyweight division. Just maybe to piggyback a little off that, Andrew Barrett has had a woeful run of luck when it comes to fights now, and hopefully this one goes off without any hitches for him, because I know, he's supposed to go in against Tiernan Loughran, and he had another fight full out before that on the week of the fight. So, it's being tough for him, and hopefully he'll be chomping at the bit. The King of Hell will be dying to get in there and compete. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. We shall move on just real quickly on Battle Fight League over here in Canada, close to myself. We had a couple of Irish fighters fighting on the card. Dylan Mayer was he was on that card and training out with Diaz Combat Sports with McKinley
He's not. He wasn't on the card. He wasn't on the card.
Oh no,
that was a note I put in. Dylan Maher is going off to Diaz. Was it Diaz?
He's heading over there to train, is he?
Yeah, he's on his way over there. So he's going to join the contingency of Irish lads that are over in that gym at the moment, which seems to be quite a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a few that are going over there. I know Hugh Gleason was on that card and he won the amateur belt on that one. That's the same one, Andy, as Dario Sinagoga. He fights on the same card as well. McKinday Ademye also picked up his first professional win on the card as well. So, you know, a few Irish fighters fighting a little bit closer to me is welcomed. And maybe if things pick up, I might have to travel over there and check it out.
I'd be interested to see what's the crack with them all going over. Like we're in the middle of July here. Is this a J1? They're going off getting a few scraps on the way.
It could be. Andy, talk to me about Marcin Zembella versus Tom Mullen.
Yeah, so Marcin Zembella picked up another loss, so he drops to 4-6 as a pro. So I think he got caught in a dart. I didn't get to see these fights now, but I heard he got caught in a dart, kind of laid on into the first round. So unfortunately, picking up another loss. You know, it just seems like Marcin Zembella is just really struggling to have any sort of consistency in his career. Like I kind of talked to him about this when he got the win against Alexander Yankov last time, and that's what he's kind of been striving for. And it just seems to be kind of getting away from him a little bit, is just finding that, you know, getting some consistent wins. Additionally, on the card, there was an amateur fight in Callan-Peace, fighting out of Team Ryan at Omagh. He was taking on a guy called Ryan McNally. Now, this is one of the worst illegal knees I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. So from speaking to the guys in the Team Rhino, apparently Callan was winning the first round, he was losing the second round. I saw a video of it, and it was just one of the most blatant up against the fence. So McNally kind of had him up against the fence, had his back, and then kind of transitioned and stepped away, and literally just smashed a knee full force into his face up against the cage, and it was horrific. And then just acting like, to be put it bluntly, a complete bollocks afterwards, when the result, he was kind of acting as if Peace should have gotten up and fought on, and when he was like there's no way he should have been fighting on.
You can't be landing illegal knees anyway, and
then flipping the middle fingers as well as the results being announced. So it was just a terrible look. But yeah, it was, you know, not a fight that I, to be honest, I wouldn't have really known it was going on beforehand. But after seeing the aftermath and that, it certainly caught my eye over the weekend.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that kind of happened. You don't like to see actions like that. Obviously, you know, legal shots happen, you get excited in there, but everyone is expected to act accordingly. Some of the biggest news I think that we're probably going to talk about in this episode is the slew of Irish fighters that PFL have signed up to their promotion. John Mitchell, Will Fury, and Nathan Kelly have all been signed up to the PFL. I'm curious, Andy, to get your thoughts on the lads signing up. I know that you reported that there was a couple of hitches going on behind the scenes as well. Maybe to just shine a more of a positive light before you get into that. It's great to see.
Whoa. You're trying to say I'm going to come in and slate them, Ian?
Not slate them, but I mean, yeah.
Their track record isn't great now. Come on.
I'm hearing has been going.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah. Let's big them up before we pull them down, shall we? But no, look, it's great to see Irish fighters being signed to the likes of PFL. Obviously, we have Miles there already. And you know, it like seeing Irish fighters being signed onto the big stage is something that we're all for here, and it's great to see the three lads getting the chance there, but not without his hitches, Andy.
Yeah, and all jokes aside, this is great news that PFL are looking at Irish fighters. They have announced that they're expanding into the European market. They're running a European series. We've seen the likes in the UK of Dakota Dacheva also getting snapped up. So we've got, you know, Will, John and Nathan being signed up to the promotion. I think it's brilliant because, like, if the figures are out there, if we, you know, when Miles Price fought his last fight, he was making 12k for that fight, and you know, obviously unfortunately, he potentially should have gotten another 12k for winning, which was unfortunate for him. But it just means that there's another option for fighters on the European scene. We've seen what Bellator have done in recent years, where there's opportunities for fighters to not necessarily just go the Cage Warriors route, or other routes or promotions in Europe where you might not be making much money. Now PFL are investing heavily. They're on Channel 4, they're on ESPN, so this is, you know, a big platform where previously it was kind of like, okay, the goal was to fight on UFC Fight Pass, maybe fight an ex-UFC veteran. PFL is kind of this new option now where I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's less of a contentious competition between PFL and the UFC as there is between Bellator and the UFC. So you could look, you know, Irish fighters could look at this and say,
PFL are also on ESPN over here on the stateside, so that's going to help matters as well in the relationship, you know.
And even the exposure though, so like for Irish fighters to get on a show like PFL, to get paid decent money that you wouldn't necessarily get paid elsewhere, it's brilliant. I think it's a great exposure, and it can only help.
Yeah, I know, and like it's also on top of the pay and the opportunity as well. You know, they do the tournament bracket, and you know, you get into that tournament and you have a chance of winning $1 million, which is pretty decent money and a life-changing money, one would say. You know, and even getting the opportunity to do that is very, very important for fighters as well. So I love to see it. It's great that the lads got signed up.
The activity also. So like if you look at Miles Price, like how many, he's on for his third fight now, and how many, like probably about the space of 6 months or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And getting paid decent money. So while Bellator is great for, you know, providing opportunities and getting a payday and whatever else, for the Irish fighters lately it seems it's just the Dublin shows. Like there doesn't seem to be options outside of that. So that's twice a year. You might be able to fight 3-4 times a year, PFL. I don't know. We'll have to, you know, it remains to be seen how the European League will go. So it's hard to say. Now, to touch on, I guess, the other side is it was a little bit weird how everything was communicated. So it was put out there that Will Fleury was fighting against Kenneth Berg on the August 13th show in Cardiff. That is, as it stands right now, not the case. That is not a fight that has been agreed to. It's not a fight that's official, but it was put out there by PFL. Fleury was offered a different opponent, and then he was offered this one, I believe, or not even offered. The name was kind of put out there. So it's not a fight that's been signed. It's a bit weird that PFL are kind of putting fights out there as official on their cards when they're not. And similarly, John Mitchell's not on this card. Like Nathan Kelly has been signed to promotion on a 4-fight deal. John Mitchell has announced today in his social media that he's signed to the PFL, and he expects to make his debut next year. So it's just a bit, you know, I can see why PFL have done this. They're probably looking to, you know, they're launching their European series, they're selling tickets for shows in the UK, but it puts fighters in a weird scenario where they're like, well, like what the hell is going on here? Like this is not true. So I don't like to see that, but it is great that the opportunities are there for them to get on these shows.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like as it stands right now, from what you know, Andy, both John Mitchell's fight and Will Fleury's fight are both ones that are not really 100% set in stone yet. So we can expect to see Nate Kelly fighting on the card in August, but maybe not Will.
John Mitchell's definitely won't be on there. John Mitchell,
yeah, because he was announced as a welterweight as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah. So that was a strange one for all of us, really, when you know that news broke and there was a lot of confusion behind the scenes. But you know, Andy mentioned Miles Price, Caoilte. He's announced for the card against Martian Held on August 20th in London, and also the announcement of the European League as well is going to be a huge boost for not only Irish athletes over here but everyone in Europe. I mean, what is your opinion on the announcement of the European League? It's a really positive move for the PFL. Yeah,
it just adds another kind of promotion into the mix for fighters to sign with, so you get more Irish fighters, more European fighters on this. And it's an opportunity to get money because they're clearly paying better money than a lot of regional promotions will pay, and they're signing people who are still quite early in their career as well. So it gives that option, and it allows more kind of competition for the other promotions. Say, look, Cage Warriors, that's going to be a direct competitor now because they're literally out there going to be trying to take their talent. Look at Dominic Wooding. That case alone, it's they're trying to snap up these fighters. So it's fantastic. I love to see it, but I don't think they've gotten off to a great start with this kind of breakdown in communication, or I'm not sure what's kind of gone on really, but overall it's really positive, more of an outlet, and it's on Channel 4, like that's huge. The fact that you're on Channel 4, it's easy accessible, a lot of eyes are on it, it's a massive deal, so it's overall quite positive, but a bit of work to be done yet, I think.
Yeah, that's it. And I can look at, there's always a couple of hitches along the way, but anything that I've ever heard from fighters, they've been saying nothing but good things about the PFL and their treatment and everything like that. You know, I know Miles has talked to me about that, and I've heard a few other fighters say that as well. Brendan Loughnane is always talking great things about PFL too. And look, the facts of the matter is that, yeah, Bellator are dealing with some serious opposition now. When you're talking about with the PFL, you're talking about PFL in the month of August are going to have the same amount of shows in Europe that Bellator have over the space of a year, which is great. More shows means more fights, means more fighters getting signed. So I'm all for that. And yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to see. And hopefully it'll last, and hopefully it'll stick around for the time being. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see all the developments with that as well. One thing I quickly brushed over was that Caoilte Norman Park was out in Poland doing his thing now. Irish/Polish MMA fighter Norman Park at this stage, he's running amok over in Poland, doing some great things over there, and picked up a good win last weekend as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Norman he must be like a celebrity over in Poland at this rate, because he's fighting everywhere and anywhere. Like I hope he's making great money, because he's fighting lows and he's fighting lads in open weight. Like this past weekend, was it last weekend even? He fought against a lad called I'm gonna butcher this, so please bear with me. Gregor Zulakowski. On Prime MMA.
You nailed it.
That sounded magnificent.
Wait till Denny gets a hold, and we'll see if that's really, if it's actually the real deal or not. But anyway, he main evented open weight bout. Like he seems to. I think this is his second or third open weight fight.
He was a middleweight as well, is he?
Well, Park, he was a lightweight.
No, but his opponent is a middleweight.
Is it? For fuck's sake. Yeah. Lunatic, like. So, yeah, and the opponent had a good record going into it as well. But end of the day, Norman comes out with a decision victory. And I think the next one, he's going to be fighting in that small cage, if anyone's seen it again. So look forward to seeing Norman continue this streak of beating a load of random lads in Poland. I'm pretty sure that he's pretty much famous over there now.
He's a star, isn't he? Like 278,000 followers on Instagram. I was trying to figure out what, like, basically find out what had gone on with this most recent fight. I was watching some video on YouTube, and I think it was like a Polish recap of like the latest fame, like these type of like fame shows or whatever. And there was something like 300,000 views on it. I'm like, hang on, like he must be a superstar over there, where he's just known as, you know, the guy who comes in and just beats the shit out of famous people for a load of money.
Yeah, it's great to see. And look, if he's earning the cash over there and he's doing the thing, good on him. He deserves it after a long career, and it's great to see him picking up wins at this stage of his career as well. So fair play to Norman Park, and long may it last for him. Carl Moore and Luca Polik have been announced for the Bellator Dublin cards. Moore's going in against Albrechtsen, Karl Albrechtsen, and Dante Shiro is the challenger for Luca. That Dublin card is spicing up now nicely. It'll be happening in September. We won't talk too much about it now, but they're two fantastic additions to that card. Abanu Bafares is fighting this Friday night on Combatcha. He will make his professional debut, Caoilte. He takes on Eric Mendes. No, we didn't hear any word over if it's being shown over in Ireland or anything like that. You know, there was faconfusion over the Begley's fight. Still hasn't been kind of broadcast live for us to see. What can you tell me about this fight and Fares's debut in the pro ranks, Caoilte?
So it's not going to be easy, put it that way. You take a look at his opponent, his record is pretty impressive. He's 23 years of age, won his debut in Combatcha Global with a finish in the first round. And his amateur career is pretty impressive as well. Lots and lots of finishes. His opponent, is Eric Mendes. So the fight's going to be at bantamweight. And yeah, this looks like a pretty tough fight, but Abenoub has not been actually in Cork for this fight, training mostly. For the last 7 weeks, I think he's been over in Miami training in Uriah Faber's gym. So he said he kept it quiet, but you can see on his Instagram as of late, he's been there for a bit. I think he's a picture of him with Uriah Faber. He was saying that the bodies that he's getting, he's training with UFC level athletes on a daily basis. So what you can learn in that period of time and basically training over there full time must be ridiculous. So I would expect we see a very different Abenoub Fares to what we've previously seen. And I'm really excited. I think it's a tough fight, but he's making all the right moves for a lad who's just turning pro, and he might be making any of us doubters that may have previously doubted him eat our words. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
It's a great move. It's a great move.
I was going to ask you, Andy, as well. Like, there was a few questions asked online. It should not have come as a surprise to any of us, because, like we mentioned on the podcast, Liam Og had stated on our second episode that, you know, that was the plan as well. Do you think some of the criticism maybe was a little bit unfair, Andy, or what do you kind of think of his decision to move pro at this stage?
I don't know if the criticism was necessarily unfair. I mean, whatever about it not being a surprise, like, okay, you know, if they say, okay, you know, he's going to be going pro. From what I saw, the criticism stemmed from that, you know, and this is not my opinion necessarily, but the opinion of it was Chris Fields had put on Twitter or something, where it just didn't think that, you know, someone who had been finished in their last number of fights wasn't ready to make the jump to pro. So look, I'm not a coach. I don't know what is when the right time is to move to pro, to be honest with you. But that was the line of thinking where, you know, this is someone who's been finished a couple of times. So is it the right time now to make the jump, where if you're kind of suffering a number of losses in a row in amateur, and now you're, you know, it's going to start being counted towards your record, should you go now? But look, ultimately, whoever is in the gym, seeing him train and coaching him, they should know best. So if they think that it's now is the time, then you know, I'm sure he trusts his coach. He trusts like Liam Og, and they probably made the decision together. And yeah, look, we'll see what finds out. I think it's a great move that he's gone over to get some new looks in at Team Alpha Male, and that can only help, I would say. So yeah, look, the proof will be in the pudding, really. We'll
That's
find
it.
out.
We're going to find out on Friday night, one way or another, if you know what I mean. And even if it doesn't go his way, like, it has to be stated that, like what Caoilte said, is that his opponent is a difficult matchup. Eric Mendes has fought some decent level opponents at amateur level and is coming in there. But I honestly think, you know, a lot of people will say this and that about Campbell McLaren, but there's not too many easy fights over there in Combatcha. We've seen Franz go in there and have some tough tests. We've seen Palehan go in there and have some tough tests. Dee Begley had a tough fight. So it's a good kind of a proving ground to see where you're at. You know, you're going to get a good solid test and you're going to learn a lot in there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this Friday. Moving closer to home, Dara Toman has signed with Clan Wars and will fight for the pro bantamweight belt. Caoilte, that's a good move for Dara.
Yeah, I think he's just been fighting around the regional promotions. Last time he fought in Clan Wars is his pro debut against Matisse Zaharovs, and he main evented, lost that one, but went in a 2-fight win streak, lost to Louis Scott there earlier this year at UK Fighting Championships 18, I think, or was it 16? 18, yeah. And yeah, look, back gets to fight in Ireland. He's 2-2 now, so hopefully get a regional belt and then push on to try and get some other fights. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him back in there. No opponent announced yet, from what I know.
Yeah, I didn't see anything myself yet. As recording here, an absolutely fantastic fight has been announced for the first MMA event in Kilkenny in many years, and that's Premier FC 3, which takes place in August. Solomon Simon versus Mario Di Stefano has been announced for that card for the lightweight belt. And my goodness, that is a belter of a fight. I cannot wait. That's the perfect fight for the home of hurling, the real home of hurling. And now the new home of Irish MMA, hopefully in Kilkenny. I'm going to take everything I can because we've lost a lot today. So, Andy, that's a great fight. That's a great fight. I'm sure both of you guys agree that that's a cracking fight to have.
Yeah, great scrap. Really impressed by Mario Di Stefano's last performance. I thought he looked great. And Solomon Simon seems to be, he's had his ups and downs at amateur, but he's a lot of experience under his belt. And from what I gather, he coming off a really strong performance over at the Four Nations tournament too. So two guys who are kind of surging at the moment, going head to head, and that's what you'd like to see.
That's exactly what you like to see. And do you know what? The next one is something that I like to see, and that's Virtus MMA have announced a flyweight Grand Prix. And they seem like there's going to be no titles in this promotion. It's just going to be all Grand Prix, one at every show. Not all one night. There'll be semi-finals on a different night and stuff. From a guy who used to kind of look back at all the Pride events and the Pride Grand Prix, and even Combatcha, for some reason, I just love that style of mixed martial arts. And I like that Virtus are doing this as well. They're thinking outside of the box, and they're coming in with, not just another show and not just another title. It's kind of unique, and it's a good idea and good to see once it's done safely. I think it's a great idea. I love to see it. What do you guys think of it? Caoilte, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it because look, regional belts, promotional belts even, let's say, they can be given out to people, it could be your first fight in the promotion per se, and someone get one, or they can be given out too early, or you could have someone win it and then decide not to defend it. This way, it cuts out the holes. If someone doesn't want to defend their belt or can't, it cuts that out. It just starts a new Grand Prix, new set of 4 fighters, and let them at it. Yeah, I'm all for it. I love the outside the box thinking, to be honest. They had I think they did the crypto crack as well before. They had, NFTs are being given out as bonuses and stuff like that. And look, it's new. I'm all for it. It adds a new layer to Irish MMA, and I love it.
It shows they're trying something, right? It's a bit of crack, trying to do something different, and why not? Like, I mean, it kind of mixes the fight night style and also the IMMAF style, where fighting multiple guys multiple days. Maybe I don't entirely know if this is all one night, or because it sounds like there's semi-finals on one card and finals on another, or what. But look, it should be a bit of crack anyway, and why not? And look, it's amateur, so you don't need to. I feel like once you get to pro, maybe be a bit more careful around these things, and kind of maybe leave it for the bigger promotions where you actually have them in contracts and stuff like that. But for amateur, like let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's definitely have some fun. That's exactly as way I was going to word it. A couple of fights have been announced already. One that's really standing out to me is that of Cameron Clements versus Paul Buckley on that card. That should be an absolute cracker. And they have a couple of other great fights. We will talk about that card a lot more closer to the time. I just wanted to highlight the fact that they're chosen to do kind of a Grand Prix, kind of a setup, and I like it. So fair play to them. The final piece of news that we have is, Shauna Bannon has been on her social media saying that she has made her decision. Obviously, I spoke to her and she had a couple of choices and a couple of good options to make. That decision has been made. We cannot give away any news on that yet. Maybe there will have some news broken on that by the time this gets released, but as a time of recording, we can't get too much into it, but we will on the next episode for sure, because that news will be fully out. But it's great. Like in general, maybe guys, if you wanted to add, just for someone like Shauna to have amount of options on her plate. She talked about KSW and Aries, and she talked about Invicta and Combatcha Global, and lots of those kind of promotions. And I think PFL have thrown their hat into the ring as well. So I think it's great for her to have those amount of options. It's brilliant to see.
It's brilliant. I spent the last week battling the depths of Twitter coming at me for a video I posted of Dana White and me kind of giving out about fighter pay. This is, fighters get screwed, quite frankly, left, right and centre throughout from top to bottom in MMA. They get taken advantage of by whether it's promoters, managers, whatever. It always happens. So for a fighter to have, and not just a fighter, a mother, a single mother who's trying to support a family and a child, to have 4 or 5 different promotions at her disposal or at her feet here to sign on, and to be able to have the power in that situation, that's not common in MMA. So when it is, it should be celebrated, and I'm delighted for Sean in that regard.
As my creature,
I'm just not surprised, to be honest. it was inevitable that she was going to have a lot of demand. She's clearly extremely talented and is going to go places if all these promotions are looking at her. So yeah, look, I'm not surprised at all, and I think it's going to get like this interest from other promotions will probably continue throughout her career. She'll always have people knocking the door. If she's 2-0 and she's getting that many calls already, it's only going to get better and better if, as long as the results keep coming. So I'm delighted for her. But yeah, I'm not surprised, and I'm really excited to see what decision it is now and where and how that goes. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, that's it. Hopefully we can talk about it a little bit more as we get onto our next episode and as the news breaks. But we all echo that's great. It's a great predicament that she's in right now. So that kind of takes us up right up to our interview with Ger Harris. And, obviously he was supposed to be fighting at Cage Conflict, and unfortunately he had to pull out due to injury, but he did take the time to speak with us about that pullout and a couple of future fights and a few other things along the way. So I'm going to hand it over to Caoilte to take that away.
And now we're joined by the Cage Conflict flyweight champion, Ger Harris. Ger, how are you getting on today?
No, not too bad, taking over, yeah.
So Reese, you've had to pull out your fight, bit of an injury. Can you tell us about that? What's and how's the recovery going?
I got nerve damage in my neck and shoulder. I think I got it from, obviously just repetitive strain on my rotator cuff, and then just wall wrestling and stuff didn't help it. So I was training on it for the whole camp, and then towards the last month when I was moving around, I couldn't even hold my right hand up for more than 2 minutes, So we were starting to say, I was like, right, we'll give it a week off. We're 3 weeks out and see what the story is with it. And just didn't seem to be getting any better. And I had Adam from Next Stage Injury Therapy working on me flat out through the whole camp, and Darren from Dublin Physicare Dublin. And so it was in the best hands possible, know what I mean? Two of the best physios on the island. So
yeah, 100%.
When they had said it to me, Adam was a bit he's like, I'm not sure what you're going to do with it, or he goes you probably could get to the fight with it, but he's it's what damage are you going to cause in the fight or trying to train for the fight, because you can't just take 3 weeks off training. And I couldn't even walk around it because I couldn't turn my head, know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And your safety is key in all of this. So do you think now, looking ahead to you, because you have another fight booked on September 9th from what I can see, and is your recovery going to plan so that you'll be able to make that fight without any issues?
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can. So Darren said to me, it's a month to 2 months recovery. Where I think that's a month at least without any live training or drilling. So so obviously I'll need to sharpen the tools up once the recovery's done, but I'm just working on the rehab and then keeping up my strength and conditioning, and then I'll be doing light drills with Roddy, going through some sequences and grappling exchanges and stuff, just not live, know what I mean? More jiu-jitsu scenarios, I reckon, rather than wrestling for a little while.
Yeah,
flat wrestling once the neck is alright.
Since you've gone from training full time almost for professional fights to having to take a break from it completely with this injury, from I guess a mental perspective from that and looking at it, how does that affect you? Because your daily routine is almost completely affected here.
It doesn't, not the daily routine isn't actually too bad, because I walk and coach in the gym, know what I mean? So I'm always up in the gym anyway. So if I'm not coaching myself, I'm on the mats helping the other lads out, or having a little look at the lads moving around and just seeing how I can help them all together, know what I mean? Other than that, yeah, it's just more when you're going home, and I'm one of these, I can't sit still anyway, know what I mean? That's why it suits me to be on the mats all day. So if I'm in my house, I'm bleeding, itching, I'm annoying everybody because I haven't got the train or anything. And yeah, just a fucking nuisance, so yeah.
So look, we'll move on to probably more positive stuff, and we'll look ahead to your next fight, I guess. You're coming up against from what I hear is one of the top prospects coming out of the All Stars gym in Nastradinov. I'm probably going to butcher that now, but what do you know about him, and what type of fight are you expecting from him? I know it's a while away, yeah, but still.
Like I haven't looked into him too much. I know the gym, so the lads are they're a well-rounded gym. They're gonna be coming with good wrestling, probably some good kickboxing. Like it's Sweden, isn't it? So like they're a good kickboxing background, and from the IMMAFs, like we've all seen like the level of wrestling they have, and I'm sure they train with some of the top boys in the world. I'm sure jiu-jitsu is going to be decent as well. Know what I mean? But in my head, it doesn't matter what top prospect he is, who he's fought before. He's never fought me, and I'm the top prospect. Know what I mean? I fought all the best. I'm not worried about anybody.
Completely fair. And so your move to pro, I guess, that's only since what, this year?
March, yeah.
Yeah. So did you anticipate going pro, like, or what did COVID actually have an impact on you going pro? Because you're still quite young and you didn't have a chance to go seniors for the IMMAFs, and I know you compete in 3 competitions there. So
Yeah.
did that competition kind of force you to go pro almost?
Not really. Like we always said about Roddy. Roddy always said to me, 10 fights is like, 10 fights is a goal. Like when I get 10 fights in and like I'm well experienced in the cage and stuff like that, I think because my first like 6 fights, I think I finished all of them except for one in the first round. And one was in the second round. Then my 7th fight went to that was the finals in the IMMAFs, and that went to 4 rounds. Like, so I didn't actually have a lot of time in the cage. Know what I mean? And then my last couple of amateur fights, like second round finish, like I went to decision twice, lost by decision twice. Then I got a second round finish, and then I fought, I think, Matthew Frail last then, and that was another decision. So I felt like I got like well, I always felt comfortable in the cage and things like that. Like you go in, it's just muscle memory in there. You go in and you do what you've been doing day in, day out in the gym. And I think just in them last couple of fights, just sort of solidified me comfort in the cage. So when the COVID and all happened, I got one fight during that when I was over in Liverpool in Aspire. They got me a fight down on Monday. I think it was a Manchester top team card.
One of the Celtic Gladiator cards, was it?
Sorry?
One of the Celtic Gladiator cards, was it?
Celtic Gladiators, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so like I got to compete once, which is probably more than most did, which wasn't too bad. Know what I mean? So I was still hungry. I was still training away. I was flat out. I was living over in Liverpool for nearly a year, so I didn't stop training. Know what I mean? It was just the first couple of months of it, the lockdown when we were back here. It's everything sort of shut down because people were like, "Oh, what the fuck is going on here?" And like nobody knew, like, is this as bad as everybody's saying? Is it not? Know what I mean? Everybody was just up in the air with it. So the first couple of weeks, like, I didn't find too bad because I've been training flat out since I'm 11. Know what I mean? I've like boxed and done this and played football and Gaelic and everything. Know what I mean? So I was being busy like my whole life. So when we got that little break at first, it was like, right, just enjoy my time with me mates. It was the summertime then and that. And then I got out. Then I got sick of it because I was like, I can't be sitting around here anymore. Got over to Liverpool, then got the training in, got a fight, and then after the Matthew Frail fight, I just thought it was like, right. It was like he's the last person who's at the accepting a fight against me. I was like, after like this long, I was like, we're at the been looking for fights all over the place. There was no IMMAFs coming up anytime soon, so that just sort of like that just made it made the decision easier for us to go pro. But I knew I was ready for pro anyway. Know what I mean? Like, I'm moving around with some of the best lads in the country and some of the best lads in England, and like I was holding me out.
Is that kind of where the decision, like, do you sit down jointly as a team to make that decision, or is it like based off your feelings in the cage and how you're doing in training and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I think you need to have a certain level of comfort in the cage, definitely. Like it's more like just decision making, I think is the main thing. It's like even people with you could have someone with basic skills like a good double leg, decent blue belt level jiu-jitsu, good like half decent fucking amateur boxing, and like obviously being able to fucking defend kicks and like obviously kick themselves. I think if they still stick to the basics in each of them aspects, like you get like if they make the right decisions, they can win a lot of fights. Know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
definitely. Yeah.
don't have to be spectacular in just one area because you see most lads, if they're a great striker, they're bleeding getting held down on the ground. If they're a great grappler, they're bleeding struggling to take people down because they're so panicked about being hit. So I think it's like when you just have a level of comfort in the cage, regardless of skill level, I think you can do very well. Know what I mean? If you look at some of the best in the world, they just do the basics, and then when they have something hurt, that's when something flash comes out. Know what I mean?
Yeah,
Ger,
definitely. It's good to hear you see that. Sorry, Andy, just for a second, because I mean, we always talk about, your base level skills and your skills are going to be growing. But I think at an elite level of the sport, it's making those mid fight decisions and your fight IQ that really gets you to that elite level, isn't it? Would you be of that opinion?
Like you'll see, that's the big difference. Even if you like in sparring rounds, like sometimes like you spar other flyweights and stuff, and you like not even flyweights, just anybody in the gym, and it's lads who have 2 or 3 fights, and then it's like then you have like your rounds with the likes of like Ryan Curtis or Scott Harvey, or like when I was over in Liverpool, like Marlon Jones, like Liam, Aaron Robinson, like all these bodies. Carl McConway now is probably like one of the main lads I've been moving around with. Like for fight, he would have been one of the last lads I was doing fight simulators with, and he's fairly similar weight. So it's like lads like that who have plenty experience. I think when you doing your fight simulators, that taking that fight experience into like the spars rather than like just having a Barney anyway. Know what I mean? Like it's that bringing it into the sparring, you can see that it's like when you're doing them sort of rounds with bleeding lads with high IQs and like like making the right decisions and good skill sets. You have to be making the right decisions. If you make it's like if you practice it in shadow boxing and then you do it like if you do it right in your shadow boxing, do it right in your drills, you do it right in your sparring, it will transfer to the fight properly. Know what I mean? If you half-art all them things, you won't get it to the fight.
Jerry, you've obviously fought in the IMMAF setup and also on kind of more typically fight night style shows domestically and in the UK. Did you notice a difference in your preparation or even kind of coming into the fight between the two of them, and which would you say has prepared you better for going pro?
Um, I think they all have their own like I think they all have their own like this what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's actually
Advantages and disadvantages.
that they both have advantages and disadvantages. It's like I think that the fight night sort of shows like local shows and things get you used to the crowds and the get you used to the crowd and then what it's like to prepare for the fight anyway. Where the IMAF setup is a little bit different. It's like you're preparing for the fight anyway, and but you're also preparing to like cut weight all that week as well, and then you have a couple of fights in the one week. So it's like game planning and strategies for the IMAFs. I found was the big difference with them, other than rather than like you're always gonna try stick to your game plan and work the best, but it's like not for me now because the brackets for flyweights weren't huge. You know what I mean? A lot of people can't make flyweight. Like most lads who are walking around at 68 kg, if they're cutting down to flyweight for the IMAFs, it's like you have to make that 56.7 every morning. So when they're fluctuating in between, like through the water and stuff, it's just very hard for them. So it's most lads who are doing flyweight in the IMAFs are quite light. Know what I mean? Like I was walking around at 57 when I fought in the IMAFs. Um, but I think it's just
Which did you prefer doing?
I enjoyed getting a couple of fights in the one week, and the no crowd and stuff. Like none of that bothered me. I just you're in there to do the business, and that's it. Um, is the way I look at it. It's like the fight night shows are great crack and stuff, and like you probably have a couple of your team training on them and stuff, or you're training for them with you. So it's like there's a bit of a buzz around the gym and stuff, and like you have a couple of lads in camp with you, where it's like some lads could be only going into camp or you're going into camp. Like a lot of people can't train full time. Know what I mean? But yeah, I preferred the IMMAFs, I'd say, just because I enjoyed getting the couple of fights in the 1 week. I think that was the best part about it.
Speaking of the IMMAFs, one person who's come from it is Mohammed Mokaev, and I noticed that you did a bit of training with him. I think it was in 2020. Was that during your period over in Liverpool?
Yeah.
How did that exactly come about, and what did you get from? Because if you trained with him so intimately like that, and what did you learn from him as well? Because he both came from the IMMAF setup, really, and with your experience.
That came about when I was in when we were in Rome. I was doing a lot of the pads, and I done quite a bit of cornering for the Ireland team when I was over there. And I was holding pads for one of the lads, and then I was sort of sitting around on the mats afterwards, and I was just sort of buzzing off all the coaches and just looking at what they were doing and just going up and asking them questions, because at the end of the day, it's like you're all doing the one sport. They're not going to tell you, here, fuck off. Like, know what I mean? Like, I think when I was going over and I was just asking coaches, why is doing it this way? What's it like? Now when you see them like chain wrestling or like just certain things they were doing, or like when you've seen they were doing anything nice on the pads, I was going up and asking some of the other coaches for pads and stuff. And one of the lads I went up to was Dean Garnett, and I was doing a little bit on the pads, and I think we were playing around with them Lemonchenko hip bumps, just bouncing off to the side. And he had shown me one of the two things, and I was like, I actually played this a little bit, and I showed him it, and he was like, geez, you said, like, you know what you're talking about there, or he was saying, you look like you move really well. He was like, it'd be great, there's loads of flyweights over in their gym for you. He's like, if you can ever get over, he was like, it'd be fucking great to have you over. And I was like, yeah, no, definitely, I'll make it my business to get over. So when I think I got over in the November for 2 weeks just before the first lockdown hit, and then when the lockdown hit, I went over for a good while. Then, know what I mean? And then, what did you say about training with Mo?
Yeah, when you're training with Mo, what did you take from that? Because obviously we've seen how fast his career's progressed, and he's come from the IMMAF route as well. What would you have gotten from actually mixing it up with him and someone at that level?
Like, to be honest, like it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was out of my depths anywhere with him really, except for the wrestling. He's just like, he really is unbelievable. He has like so many chains. It's like when I strike, it's like I know exactly where I'm putting it. It's a game of chess where it's like, I remember me and Mo were bleeding. We were doing box wrestling rounds, and I threw like a jab and a slap hook, and he slipped and rolled, but continued to roll down onto his knees and shot from one leg to the other right underneath me, and it was just so slick, like, know what I mean? Like, and then again, like, just what I was saying, it's decision making in spars. He never exerted, like, overexerted his energy, never jumped like stupid techniques. Everything was calculated. He was watching his energy. He's making the right decisions. He's answering all the right decisions as well. Know what I mean?
Obviously, you started your professional career in the regional scene, and now you've one booked for Austria. And do you plan on doing these do you plan on staying these one fight deals, which are becoming more and more common? Or are you willing to sign for promotion for a long term deal?
We deal with cage fight series. So, but it's open contract. So if the fights pop up, I can take them and stuff. Know what I mean? And they're guaranteeing me like 2 fights a year minimum. Know what I mean? So that suits me, because I just want bodies to fight. Know what I mean? I want like, it doesn't. It's like same for women's heavyweights, flyweights, light heavyweights. It's not a slow rise to the UFC. Like, know what I mean? You get a good like 6, 7 wins, 5 wins, like good finishes or good performances. Like, you're nearly on your way there. Know what I mean? Like, you see Mo. How many fights did Mo have? 6 or something? Was it 7? And he was
5 or 6.
yeah. So I don't care where the fights come from. Like, I want to defend me title on Cage Conflict. Like, like the lads are brilliant from Cage Conflict. They're great to work with. They look after you. So I'm looking forward to building myself on that show and holding the regional title anyway. And then obviously if like a title comes up, like I'm gonna smash this young fella in September anyway, know what I mean? And then whatever comes in after that on this cage fight series, and I'll be looking forward to probably taking the belt on that as well. And then by then I'll probably be going to the UFC in my eyes. Like hopefully I'd like to do it by the end of next summer. Like if I can get the fights, there's no doubt we'll be there, know what I mean?
And like, wait, you said it yourself there, the UFC. Is that the only goal for you? Is that how you measure the kind of to be the best in the world? Or you look at other promotions like PFL and Bellator, and do you consider them options too?
I definitely consider them options. Like I'd never write anything off, but it's like not saying that they're not as good as the UFC. They definitely are. Like some people do great off Bellator. Like even see like Nathan Kelly's working with Paul. He's at the fight now Bellator there. Now he signed with PFL, is it? And know what I mean? So there's so many routes you can go now and so many ways you can make a living doing this. But I think it is when you like when I was 11, it was like there wasn't much like there wasn't many other shows like I can't even remember hearing a Bellator when I was that young. But it was like you were watching like the UFCs and the old Pride fights then, like what Roddy and all would have been telling me about, and you're watching like the likes of BJ Penn. I know he was Roddy's favourite fighter and that. And when the lads are talking about lads up in the gym, every one of them, like everybody, like everybody's idols, most of them come from the UFC or that Pride or, know what I mean? Now there's a lot of lads in Bellator who are great fighters now, but I just mean when I was growing up, it's like if kids who play football, you want to play for Liverpool or you want to play in the fucking Premier League or the Champions League. I think that's sort of what the UFC is to a lot of people. It's the pinnacle, isn't it? It's like that's where all the big money is. That's where all the big fights are. That's where the legends are made. Know what I mean? Like even you look at one and Ben Askren went. What was he? Can't remember what his record was. 10-0 or something, or much higher than that, was it? But then he went to the UFC and he got smoked. Know what I mean? Um, you see, like here was a Ryan Bay that came down from heavyweight in light heavyweight in the UFC, went to Bellator, then he was a double champ. Like so, it's just you're looking at little things like that, and you're like, well, look at the standards. Know what I mean? If you want to, like, I want to be one of the best in the world, like just regardless, but just technically as well. I want to prove I can, like you're saying it with McGregor, you can see it with a lot of the lads in this country. Like technically, like nobody's outclassing us. Know what I mean? Like the standards are here, and I want to go prove it for myself that I have it. Know what I mean? Regardless of the country or anybody else, I just want to go and prove on the big stage and to everybody else. So I'm one of the best in the world because that's what I want.
Jerry, you're obviously talking there about, you've started training since you're 11 years old and back, looking up to people back then. You're training under Owen Roddy, a legend in Irish MMA. Was it the likes of him that you were looking up to back when you were 11 years old?
Yeah, and still now, know what I mean? Roddy's probably still my favourite fighter. Like obviously I have the couple of lads I like to watch in the UFC and stuff, but I just remember even when I was training years ago, obviously when Roddy was getting ready for fights, there was just a real buzz around the gym, and uh like just even you'd watch the videos of him banging them knees to the body and that, and it's like I always just wanted to finish someone with a knee to the body. So that's still one of my goals, know what I mean? Land one of them Roddy left knees from Southpaw, like. But yeah, just the way he fights as well, know what I mean? There's like even when he like he still does some some light rounds with me in the mornings, and he does the conditioning session with us in the AK pulse we have up in the gym. It's a heated ski bike row, but Alan up there puts us through our paces, like. But Roddy gets in there with us on a Friday night, and he pushes it harder than most of the lads. Know what I mean? So it's just like just the way he carries himself and the way he performed and the way he fought, just with pure heart. And he always told us fight, and we're still now telling the kids we fight to finish in our gym. You're trained to finish. Like there's no game plan of like, oh, just hold them down here. Know what I mean? Like maybe if you're getting like, caught a little bit in the middle of a fight, you might go out and say, right, get your double leg, recuperate, and fucking either butcher him on the ground or look for a sub. Or it just depends. But when we're training in the gym, he's preparing us to finish fights.
Yeah, and obviously he was a proud Ballymun native like yourself. What did he mean for the likes of yourself and people from the area? You know, when he was kind of in his pomp, when he was fighting in these stadiums, what did he mean for the people of Ballymun?
I don't know. It's just like you can go back and look at all his fights. The fucking crowds were mental. Know what I mean? It's like bleeding barriers be getting thrown up into the sky, like that. Like Ballymun's one of them places. It's like everybody's like, they hear Ballymun. It's probably one of the fucking first places you hear on the news for something bad. Know what I mean? Or if you looked her up, it'd be like nothing good would come up about it. Know what I mean? But the community around here is like, it's like no other. Know what I mean? Everybody supports you, like regardless. Know what I mean? Like even lads who don't watch the fight and like would come up to me and be like, "Oh, Bladen, I hope you're doing well, and I can't wait for you to be fighting." And I'm sure it was the same when he was coming up. Obviously, I was a lot younger, so I wasn't taking notice to too much of things like that. But if you looked at the support he got to his fights, and like there's just the party still has now, even like with the community training in the gym, and like there's a lot of people from Ballymun training in the gym, Ballymun, Finglas, all them surrounding areas. Like so,
Yeah,
that sense of community is still there, and they're still supporting them, and he's obviously still supporting them, like training kids and training them and helping everybody just have a better life, isn't it? Like, putting everybody
100%.
right.
You know, you've talked about Ballymun as being like a, you know, the community's almost like a family. And I feel like you could see, you know, when Roddy was fighting, the ravenous support for him. Your last fight up against Kieran Mulholland up in Belfast, like the crowd was going nuts. Do you feel like that you're carrying the torch now for Ballymun?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I think I'm most proud of, because it's like there's it's me, it's Roddy, and then it's me. Know what I mean? Like if Roddy fucking got the stove lit, now I have to keep it going. Know what I mean? And then it's gonna be my job, like to help Roddy train the future after me as well. But it's like, yeah, I'm glad that it's like even like all the success I'm having and bringing to the gym, like it makes me even prouder that I'm doing it for like not for Roddy, I'm doing it for myself, but like that Roddy's there with me when I'm doing it, know what I mean? Because it's like just so close to him, know what I mean? He's trained me since I'm 11. He's like I said it on the other interview there done the other week. He's like, it's funny because he's like having a dad, an uncle, a brother, and a best mate all in one. And obviously he's your coach as well. It's like he like sometimes he needs to say something to you. Sometimes he's your best mate. Know what I mean? Like he wouldn't be shy about saying something to me or like anything. Or and that's for anybody in the gym really. He's like that for everybody. Or I just feel it's like because I've known him so long that it just when he's there, when I'm winning all these things, and I look at him after the fights, and I can see it in him that he's proper happy for me. Like it gives me an extra little boost. Know what I mean? And then when I'm training with him, and like when even when you're in the gym and you're pulling things off in the gym, and you can see you getting better, and he's saying it to me, it mean more to me than anybody saying it to me. Know what I mean? Because obviously he's the person I want to hear it from. He's like the person I've looked up to my whole life, fighting wise. So yeah.
Before I let you go, and thanks so much for the time, Ger. Anyone who hasn't seen you fight yet, what would you, if anyone was to tune in, what would they expect to see? What kind of a fighter do you want to be known as?
I want to be known as someone who goes out there and looks to finish fights. Like I want to be like technically I want to be better than everybody, but I want to be like I'm vicious when I go out there. I'm looking to take your head off with every shot. Know what I mean? Like not in a way like I'm tipping you with that 70%. As soon as I see you hurt you again, I land that 100% on your chin. There's no doubt someone's going to sleep. Know what I mean? Like I would have loved to finish Kieran in that last fight, but quite a durable young fella. Like as you're saying, he had some big shots off me, but I never felt like I actually let go on that fight fully because like he was so technically good at getting to the back. So I didn't want to overextend on a shot or him shoot underneath and slip up to the back. It was like so sort of staying at the back of the shots, but yeah, just I think that's something you have to build up over time. That like that sort of what McGregor had, being able to finish people moving backwards. Know what I mean? it's a particular skill and not many people have it, but like it will be developed as well. But I want to be going forward, finishing everybody. Like I want
the GTA selector.
You know, hit them where anything. Well, yeah, ready to finish it anywhere, hands, feet, on the ground, finish it anywhere. Like all my amateur fights, most of them are armbar finishes. I think I have 2 armbars, 2 guillotines, um, 2 rear naked, something like that. Or like I'm well versed. Everybody who moves around with me, like I have a purple belt under already, and belts aren't given out easy in our gym either. Know what I mean? So, like I know I'm able to hang even on the ground with anybody as well. Yeah, I want to be known. That's it.
Perfect. Ger GTA Selector Harris. That could be the new nickname. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, is it the shaved ape or is it the GTA Selector? I feel like it's changed.
Yeah, like the shaved ape was like I like that one because that's what all the lads be saying about me when I'm walking around the gym, because I'm a flyweight, but I don't look like a flyweight. Like I'm walking around at 62 kilo, and I do have lads coming up. What weight are you? Like 67, 68, and I'll be like, oh no, I'm 62. Even when they moved around with me, know what I mean? They're like, holy fuck, now you're not 62 kilo, or I'm just like a little shaved ape walking about, but. I think the GTA selector has a little bit better ring to it, doesn't it? And that's the way I fight, ready to hit you where I'm. So
love it, Jared. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It was a real pleasure for us, man. Unfortunate news about the injury and you not competing at Cage Conflict, but you do get the chance at Cage Fight Series in September, and we're looking forward to seeing you getting in there, man.
It's sold for that Cage Conflict card. Like I sold 103 for the last one, and I had the 150 tickets sold. I had 2 coaches organised for everybody from Ballymun to be going up to Belfast and back. And just like it's just devastating. Know what I mean? It's just I would have loved to fucking go up there and put a bleeding show on for everybody, but it is what it is. Know what I mean? I think this is where like smart decisions and like the experience I get off everybody I've trained with over the years, like Roddy, Porta, Scott, Danny Hall, all these lads who even like Gav Kelly, like there's just so many lads there who've been there and done it. And like I remember I rang Corta and I was like, Corta, what I'm like, I don't know, I don't really want to, I don't want to say, I don't want to say I can't fight. But it's like I know I'm injured and I know I won't be able to bleed and hold my arm up longer than a minute in here. And like I was like the physios are telling me like you're probably best off not taking the fight and like put down the rehab. But it's like I think it's a little thing in your head. You're so worried about everybody else that you're not thinking about yourself. And I think a lot more fighters should like that's probably something if lads are watching this and you're in your amateur career that. Probably a good thing to like look after your injuries, because like this I've had this rotator cuff injury since I think me third fight, because obviously like I'll be a lot more striking based, so I'm always using my hands. So like me rotator cuff was always like getting injured in camps, and I was like the fit like using me physio, like getting physio done, and like I upped my recovery even for the last fight, which I think helped a lot with it. But I think it just came to the final straws with it this time, where I actually wasn't able to use it. So like if you have any little niggles, look after them. Know what I mean? Your body will only last so long, like, and we don't have long in this game. You get 10 years probably max. So yeah,
100%. It's a good way of thinking, Ger, and yeah, credit to you for making the right call for yourself. And thanks so much again for joining us today. As I said, it was a real pleasure.
Hopefully get me back on before this next one, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do to this young Plazoy.
Absolutely, we will. I look forward to it. Thanks, Ger. Thanks a million for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
Yeah, really appreciate it, lads. Nice one. Thanks very much.
Cheers, bud.
Thanks.
Bye.
Brilliant stuff from Ger there. Always great to hear from him. I think we gave him a new nickname too, guys, the GTA Selector. So we can.
I'm going to be updating his tapology after this to reflect
update. We'll have to take credit for that for sure. Yeah, but no, a great interview there from Ger, which brings us right up to the questions and answers section. And we'll start off with a question from Andy Hickey, who asks us, should Johnny Jitsu be kept in the main event spot after his recent legal battles? Is that sending the right message to the women in the sport? So obviously news broke earlier last week that after the announcement that Johnny Jitsu was supposed to be taking on Richard Caoilte. I can't believe I forgot Richard Caoile's name.
The face.
Richard Caoilte in the new face of Cage Legacy for the middleweight title in Cage Legacy on their next event. It's since come out that Johnny Jitsu has been found guilty in court of an assault from a previous relationship. Unfortunate news. And I mean, it's a difficult one to say, Andy. I mean, we had a chat about it, and should he be kept in the main event spot? Should he not? It's a difficult one to say. It's not a great look, but you look at the UFC, they're kind of brushing over all these things at the highest level. It's happening at the top of the sport. It's going to happen at the middle of the sport. It's going to happen at the bottom of the sport. And, it's just unfortunate timing for him, for the promotion as well. Just curious on what your thoughts are on the situation and what you think should happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a very delicate one. Well, as you said there, look, ultimately it's for the promotions to decide, but historically they've been completely inactive when it comes to these types of things, as you've just pointed out there. Generally, like from a UFC perspective, they'll always look to say, oh, well, let the courts handle it, or whatever the case may be, and see what happens. In this case, obviously John was handed down a suspended sentence. So I did reach out to Cage Legacy and I said, is this still going ahead? And they said, yeah. So that's the decision that's been made by the promotion. Personally, I don't really know what the standard should be across the board. Like, if it was me, I probably wouldn't go ahead with them. But it's not me. So I don't know, and I don't really know what. There should be some standards, in my opinion. But I don't entirely know what those standards should be across the board, because obviously this is one case, but then, well, which convictions or which whatever should prevent people from fighting. Like, I don't know what rule sets should be put in place, or standards that should be adhered to across the board. But I mean, it's going to go ahead, and things like this are going to continue to happen and go ahead. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a great look. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. And the promotions will make their decisions. Our job is to highlight it, to talk about it, to share our opinion. But, it is what it is. It's unfortunate to see. But as I said, Caoilte, it happens at the top of the sport and it happens at the bottom of the sport. It's a situation that, exists throughout the sport of mixed martial arts. There are some people who have made mistakes in the past, and I'm all for giving second chances and stuff like that as well. But the timing of this was a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it's the timing which is what probably spurred this question on, if anything. And to be short about it, does it send the right message? No. I'd agree with Andy, there isn't any standards. So if you look at the very top of the sport, you'd look at the UFC, who've been around from the dawning of the sport. The sport came about. There's no standard set by them. So you would have someone like, let's give an example of Greg Hardy. He's a very popular example, who has been given fights, and he's been given very big fights as well. There's never been any repercussions, or, well, I guess it's been on social media, we get it, but the promotion never really care, I guess, about these things. And if it's going ahead, I guess that's the promotion's decision. Maybe I don't think I would have kept him on it. I'd say I agree with Andy there, but it's going ahead. That's their decision, and onwards to the fight, I guess.
That's it. We will talk a bit more about that fight a little bit later on. Jack Core asks us, what's the better promotion for Irish fighters, Bellator or PFL? Caoilte, I'm going to go to you for that.
Depends on what you want, lads. Yeah, if you want to fight a few times in a year, well, you're guaranteed that with PFL if you get signed to one of the tournaments. So look at Miles Price. I think we've alluded to it already. 3 fights in the space of 6 months? incredible.
Not even actually checked there. It's 3 months. It was May, June, and now August.
And that's going from that's on the back of a massive break, fighting high level competition. You don't see that as often in Bellator. And if you're an Irish fighter, you might just fight twice for Bellator in a year. Let's be real. If you're assigned to them and you're not doing the whole one fight deal crack. But it's all individual as well. So depending, I guess everyone has different circumstances as well. So you might not be able to commit to fighting 3 times in the space of 3 months if you have a full-time job as a fight while fighting. And then in Bellator, it might suit because you might want to fight. Oh, you could have injuries, anything. So there's a lot of variables involved. But I guess it's all down to individual circumstance and what fits them, and as well as contracts, what they're getting paid. We all know that they're all getting paid fairly okay money in both promotions. So who offers the best is another major factor there.
Yeah, I think like that is the main point of this question, is that, you know, it's hard to say, because I would never say someone shouldn't sign for Bellator, someone shouldn't sign for PFL, or someone shouldn't sign for this promotion or that promotion, because it's basically the person who's going to be signing is the person who's going to know best and what they want for their career, where they're at in their career, how much money they're getting paid, how active they're going to be. Those are all the main factors, really, Andy, that boils down to a decision making when you are signing a contract, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And like, I mean, part of this is you kind of need to wait and see what happens with PFL, because for someone like a Miles Price, like, he's been thrown right in the deep end, where he's fighting Anthony Pettis, Jeremy Stevens, and now Marcin Held back to back. You know, very, very tenured and experienced fighters. For a fighter who's maybe not ready for that just yet, I think Miles has shown, especially in the Stevens fight, that he's ready to hang with that type of competition. Obviously he had a couple of losses, but the Stevens fight definitely showed he was ready to be there. I would hope that maybe younger fighters who are getting signed to PFL are not getting thrown.
You wouldn't be putting someone like Nate Kelly along the same route at this stage in his career. That's
no,
like,
but maybe 18 months, 2 years from now,
100%
could easily be. But yeah, so like it's kind of remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, Caoilte kind of laid it out kind of brilliantly, I thought, where it really just depends what you want, and you're going to get. I think PFL probably gives you better exposure now that they have deals in Channel 4 and ESPN and all these places. So look, they're both great options. Whichever one, see whichever one pays you better as well, and which one will provide you more flexibility or whatever. But it's just great that they're both there.
Yep, perfect. And do you know what? The overarching thought should be, it's great to have choices as well, because they weren't always there. So,
and fingers crossed PFL will bring a show to Ireland next year, perhaps.
Yeah, the way things are going, I'd be very surprised if they didn't, and I'd love to see that happen. Daniel Mimna asks, which Irish PFL signee has the best potential to win the Millie? And he also echoes your sentiments too, Andy. He says hopefully we'll get to see some Irish shows soon as well. Who has the best potential to win the Millie? I would probably say myself, Will Fleury has the best chance at the stage he's at his career, the skill level he's shown so far. I mean, for me, I'm surprised and not surprised that he's made the decision to sign for the PFL and go with them, if obviously if everything gets sorted out, like, because I think that Will was probably on the cusp and was definitely good enough to maybe get a call by the UFC, maybe make the jump over to the UFC as well. But I'm happy for him that this seems right for him right now. And I think if the situation is handled correctly, and if he's allowed to kind of progress and move into the PFL and get the fights that he wants, that he will have a good chance. He'll probably end up entering into the light heavyweight bracket in the PFL. And, there's some good competition there, but there's also some very winnable fights for Will Fleury in that division too. And I mean, if he plays his cards right, and if the PFL give him the opportunity, to safely move up to the light heavyweight division, I think Will has a right good chance of competing and winning that light heavyweight bracket, and I'll be excited to see it happen whenever it does. I'll hand it over to you, Andy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially, I mean, when you look, I think Miles Price is a really difficult division, and we've seen from his first few fights that it's a killer's row in front of him. I think the competition is probably, a little bit. It's a little bit. I don't want to say easier, but easier for Will Fleury. Like just there's fewer light heavyweights out there. If you look at the UFC, even like, it's never like the absolute strongest division. And I think that Will has really shown improvement over the last number of years with regards to his fighting. I think that he's shown a maturity and a fight IQ in there that's really maximising his talents, and that he's really kind of coming on as a fighter. He's also just way further along in his career, as you said, than John and Nate. And, will they be going into, as far as winning $1 million, like, will they be fighting for $1 million, or will they be going in and fighting for the European series? Like, that remains to be seen. So there's a lot of factors in play here, but if I was to pick one right now, I would say Will Fleury.
What would your line of thinking be, Caoilte?
I'm only going to echo you two lads, to be honest with you, and pick Will. I'll be honest, I'm surprised that Will actually signed with PFL. I was, especially after hearing the kind of murmurs about UFC going to Sweden, I thought, oh, do you know what? He could be type of a contender for someone there, even if it was like a local fighter, and go up against one of them. And I thought that would have been kind of opened up an opportunity to get him signed. Unfortunately, it's not been the case, and if PFL's come knocking, and depends on what happens in that situation. But I would say him. I think he's he'd be a front runner for me to do very well in that division. And you never know what happens in PFL, especially with injuries, fighting so many times in the short space of time. So yeah, no, in short, it has to be Will for me.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there, and that's not to snuff on the rest of the guys who've got signed. Like, I mean, my decision based off the point that Will is at in his career as well, and same what Andy said, Miles is in a difficult division, and not snuffing at. I mean, if he can go out there and if he can raise his performance past that, what we've seen against Jeremy Stevens, he'll be right in the mix if he's added into that tournament next year as well. Jamie Abbott Bissett asks thoughts on PFL signing a bunch of Irish fighters. We kind of covered that throughout the podcast already. Fucking fantastic to see it. Great, love seeing these Irish fighters getting signed up to those big promotions. Love the fact that the promotions are looking for Irish fighters as well. So credit to them, and it's great to see. And hopefully we'll have a few more as well. Energized Ross asks Ian Gary's next opponent, and that kind of gives us a good opportunity to speak about Ian Gary's last fight first. And then we'll talk
Machado about Gary, lads. Ian Machado Gary.
Yeah,
right,
well,
for fuck's sake.
Let's Ian Gary was great in that fight. In my opinion, against Gabe Green. I thought his performance was excellent, and arguably the most clean, most polished he's looked in his career so far. He didn't really get himself in too much trouble. Bar the eye poke, he caught a couple of shots at the end of the second round, but covered well. Looked to be tiring out a little bit at the end of the second round, but bounced back as well. Dropped Gabe Green at the start of the third round. I was very impressed with his shot selection. We've seen a couple of new wrinkles in his game, varying up his shots. His jab was on point. Looked so sharp on the pads before the fight, and that translated really over onto the fight as well, didn't it, Caoilte?
Yeah, 100%. He was fantastic in that fight. I think we spoke about it in the last one as well. He was just like, it was probably his best performance to date. He was clean, sharp. Looked like he could probably actually finish it. He looked like he could finish it any time if one of those if one or two extra shots, I guess. But he was fantastic. I'm really, really impressed. You can see the kind of levels he's come up from training over in whatever it's called now. Is it Killcliff FC or something? But I preferred Sanford, to be honest, but whatever. Yeah, look, you can see he's leveling up massively, and he's really on a bright trajectory at the moment. So let's see who we thinking for him next.
Before we go to his next opponent, he's kind of highlighting the fact that he wants to be the man to bring Irish MMA back to Dublin. Wants to bring, or not Irish MMA, a UFC show back to Dublin. Do you believe that may happen? Do you think he's far away from doing that yet, Andy, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think it'd be amazing if it did happen. I'd love to see it happen, but do I think it's imminent? No, I don't. I just don't really see. Well, from my understanding, Bellator have
I'd be
booked out.
Honestly, I'd be surprised if the UFC didn't come back next year.
You think?
Yeah, they were supposed to be
I
back
don't know.
there.
See, from what I've heard, that is that Bellator have the 3 Arena booked. They've block booked it, so it kind of makes it really difficult for other promotions to come in and get an event in there. So then it's like, okay, well, can they get into the 3 Arena? And if not, where do they go instead? So I mean, maybe they could go do something in Belfast again. But yeah, I mean, look, Jesus, I'd love if they could. They do seem to be kind of putting more shows on out on the road again, which is great to see. So hopefully we can drag them back. But the focus seems to be on the UK market at the moment.
Yeah, it does. It'd be interesting to see. Like, I mean, I know they were scheduled to kind of go there in 2020. So, I mean, there was even less Irish fighters really in contention of fighting there in 2020 than there is now. And, you know, looking from the outside in, there's a couple of potential signings as well that could be added to the roster. You know, I'm looking at Rhys McKee. You mentioned the Belfast show. You know, you could stick Rhys McKee on a Belfast show. You could stick Rhys McKee on anything really, anywhere in Ireland, and people are going to show up to it. But I'm very curious to see it. You know, I feel like
Ian's maybe like, I guess
he's not going to headline one anyway.
He's not going to headline one now anyway. Like, but maybe 2 years from now he could. You know, depending things.
Yeah, no. But I mean, I don't think that, you know, you're at this stage of his career, you're going to be coming back and building a UFC show around Ian Garry in Ireland, but definitely having him on the card along with a couple of other Irish fighters. If not really next depends. Year, definitely the year after. And if it did turn out to be 2024, well then, you know, he's definitely going to be in a better position there, and he'll have probably another 4 or 5 fights in the bank by then. But it'll be interesting. I'd be interested to see if he fights this year and then maybe fights again early next year. You're 12-0, so you know what I mean. It may be go time. It'd be interesting to see in how the UFC does match him up next, and it's kind of a good segue to talk about that. What are your opinions, Caoilte? Would you have him matched up again with somebody outside the top 15, or would you be looking closer at ranked opponents at this stage, in your opinion?
I'm going to have to check the rankings really fast now because you're after throwing me off with that one. I prefer someone outside top 15. Stay away from that. Like, slow build, no need for... He's young, he's still developing, no need for all that crack. Not just yet. Maybe another year. So from looking at the UFC... So I have two in front of me that I'm like, yeah, maybe these two. Because I'd rather someone coming off a win, and that will give him a bit of a test. And I think the first one that popped to my head... was Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov, and he's a man who's, I think he had issued with visa recently, and I guess just adds to the whole Nurmagomedov versus any.
That's Khabib's brother. That who McGregor was getting a scrap with on the cage.
Don't know, to be honest with you.
No, that was Tumanov, and that was Khabib's cousin that got in. Well, I guess there was 2 of them in there at that time, but
it is Abu Bakr. That's his brother, isn't it? Not.
Oh, is it?
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's Khabib's brother, Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov. The one who was when he got onto the cage and he was swinging down. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Anyway.
But that's what you're looking at. You're like, so you'll be looking to try and get him that wrestling test, Caoilte, which I kind of agree with. It's hard to know who to try and match him with, but I'm definitely saying keep him outside the top 15. For the next 3 or 4 fights, to be honest. I don't think there's any rush in getting him up there, and I don't think he's in any rush either. You need that cage time. You need to be asking yourself different tests, different questions, and trying to showcase in what you've been working on in the gym. Are you looking for someone, he's been put in there? I guess Darian Weeks was kind of a half grappler, but chose to stand and bang Gabe Green, another striker. Are you looking to see maybe him get a bit of a test and to see what his wrestling is like next, Andy?
Fuck that. What I want Ian's talked about violence, and I want violence. Also, I googled while I was muted there. He's definitely not his brother. I
didn't want to share. I knew that he wasn't his brother.
Completely wrong.
Yeah,
completely wrong. Here's a name that I want. He's not coming off a win. But how about Ian Garry versus Matt Brown?
That's a lovely fight.
Yeah.
Very experienced, obviously. Now, I don't know if Matt Brown would ever want that fight. Or can I put forward Ian Garry versus Alex Morono?
Yeah, not a bad one either. Alex Morono is fighting too at the end of this month as well, so that might be a good one. That Alex Morono is a difficult enough challenge too. It's going to be along that line. I think maybe what the UFC might do next is give maybe a similarly kind of positioned, I don't want to say a ranked fighter, but a similarly positioned fighter like Ian was 3-0 in the UFC. Probably throw him in there again with another guy who's had 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. Like Alex Morono has had 14 fights in the UFC. So
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just kind of thinking like, Rhys McKee was thrown in there pretty quick.
It's going to, I think that. Yeah, that was, but I don't think Rhys even should have been either, to be honest. And I think the way Ian Garry is talking and the way he's managing it perfectly well in the competition that he has been fighting. He got in there against a real tough guy in Gabe Green the last time and kind of outpointed him well. But, I like your way of thinking where it's like, you're probably going to give him an unknown ranked or unranked fighter next, someone with similar experience, and then you're looking at the likes of Matt Brown. Then you're looking like names after that, and getting tests.
I'm just going to keep throwing names at you here. How about this one? 11-2, 2-1 in the UFC, coming off a win. Mounir Lazzez.
Be a good fight for him too. Yeah, it'd be a good fight for him. Yeah. There'd be
these are all falling so flat.
Yeah, I mean it is. I don't think it's going to be that either. I think it's going to be someone along his lines, a young up and comer, similarly matched. And then Lazzez is kind of a guy who's made his name in the UFC for sometimes the wrong reasons as well, especially lately. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, for me, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what the UFC are going to do with them. He wants to slow build himself. And if he's saying that, that means the conversations behind the scenes are going to be coming that. But he has plenty of time, only 24 years of age right now. So I'm all for slow building him. I'm all for maybe another 2 fights against kind of the level of opposition that he has been fighting against. And then throw the likes of Matt Brown in or Morono in or Lazzez in or somebody like that. It's interesting to see. It's exciting time for him. I mean, what do you guys think? Are you thinking the same way? I think I'm kind of I feel I'm controlling the conversation and the narrative here. I'm wondering what you guys are thinking. Do you want to see him in? Do you think he's ready for the likes of Matt Brown? Do you think he's ready for the likes of Lazzez and Morono right now?
I think Lazzez would be a fun one. I was just biting my tongue because the whole Mounir Lazzez shouting out Kinnan after his fight. I was thinking, Jesus Christ!
That's about
imagine that he fights an Irish lad next.
Yeah, it'd be a good chance for the Irish to get one back on that. That's for sure.
I mean, I think to what you're saying there, Ian, I don't know. I don't know if he's ready for that yet. But I kind of want to find out. I don't think I'm learning anything that much. It's Ian had a great performance, I thought, in his last one, but I feel like we're not going to really learn where Ian Garry is until he's going in.
Yeah, but we're giving out.
But
right,
maybe it's too much. Maybe it's too much too soon. I don't know.
We're giving out about how Rhys McKee was treated inside the UFC and getting fast tracked. Right. So now we're starting to begin the process of wanting to fast track Ian Garry. Now there's a difference between Khamzat Chimaev and difference between Alex Morono and then Rhys being put in there with the likes of Chimaev and Morono as well. I think that it's okay for him to be fighting the level of guys that he's fighting right now, even for the next 3 or 4 fights, to be honest. And then we'll see where, you can throw a legend into the mix then. Matt Brown might not be even around. Matt Brown might be a good fight, but I don't know if Matt Brown is wanting to fight someone like that.
Matt Brown.
No, either would I. So
Tim Means.
Ooh, the Dirty Bird, yeah. He wouldn't be a bad one either. Yeah.
Veteran.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to find out. And I think Ian is looking to kind of take it easy for a while now. Obviously, he has a kid on the way, so he has other family priorities now. So there hasn't been really any talks of when he's going to be back in there yet. But I'd be surprised if we didn't get to see him again sometime before the end of the year, maybe on a November, December card. I know they're probably looking at that November 12th card in Madison Square Garden again. That would be maybe ideal for him, or maybe the year-end Vegas card on the UFC. But look at the there's lots of choices out there, and it's great to be even having a conversation like that with Ian and seeing who he's going to fight next. But I think ultimately, maybe we went on many tangents.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, we all came to agreement that Khamzat Chimaev is the next opponent for Gary.
There you go, Andy. There you go. Caoilte, Ross also asks, is there any improvements that you would like to see for the next Four Nations tournament?
Plenty. But look, it's the first competition. Let's be real. Like, no, whenever competition is first put on, it's never going to go perfect. There's always going to be improvements and stuff you learn from. Same with everything, I guess. Like, but they did. When I was there, it was actually pretty well run. Like, it was professionally run. You had very high level referees. Medical standards were to a high level. So they put on, and it was sectioned off, everything in a good way. It's in a great spot. But I'd like to see, I'd love to see a bit more involvement from a bigger Irish team go out. I think that'd be nice next time. The kits was a bit of a, I wish every team had a kit or two kits, like a home and away or red corner, blue corner, because Scotland were the only one that did it. I think actually Wales may have as well, but the Scottish one stood out. They had like the Scottish flag on the back of a blue rash guard. It was quite nice. I like small little details like that. Maybe a fight card become more easily available. That would have been a big one for me. Publishing stuff like that out. But these are all just small learning things that could be done. Oh, and a really good one. This isn't my suggestion though. I'm robbing this off Jordan from IMMAF. He put it on Twitter. He's like, he loved for like a team. So like what country wins, and you have a cup then, and you add a little medal to the cup every year with the engravement of who won, and you keep going year after year. So let's say if I think Ireland probably would have been maybe top this year, give them the cup this year, engrave the name, bring it back, something like that. Small little gimmick, but I'd love something like that as well, just to make it a bit more of a team event. But yeah, look, that's kind of it, I think, on the Four Nations really from me. I look forward to the next one though. I think it'll be even bigger next time, to be honest.
Ross also asks, who will win the Cage Legacy middleweight title? And I'll ask you first, Andy.
Richard Caoilte.
I think Richard Caoilte probably win too. What about you, Caoilte?
I'm going to stick with my fellow Gael Gore and say Richard Caoilte is going to win.
Fair play to you. And that wraps us up for episode 13 of the Auld Triangle podcast. As always, thank you everybody for listening. Rate the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, tell a friend about the podcast. We will be back in 2 weeks again to talk all things Irish MMA. Once again, thanks to everybody for listening. We will catch you the next time. Thanks to Ger Harris for joining us for the interview. Thanks to Andy. Thanks to Caoilte. And thanks to myself. We'll talk to you the next time. Goodbye. Good luck.